You're going on holiday abroad. Before you can board the plane, the airline asks you for your passport. You're also required to check in any luggage if you bring any with you. The airline expects all passengers to bring their passports, but they don't expect all passengers to bring luggage. If passengers do bring luggage, then the luggage needs to be checked in. A passport is required, luggage is optional. Similarly, in Swift, there are optional protocol requirements. So this means that when defining a protocol, you can define both required and optional methods. In this video, you'll discover when to use optional over required methods, and you'll also learn how to make a class conform to a protocol with required and optional methods. Little Lemon's customers can make table reservations in two ways. Customers can book a table on the Little Lemon website, or they can call the restaurant directly and book with a reservation agent. Both methods are optional. Now, to indicate that a protocol method is optional, you use something called an @Objective-C attribute, and it's written using the symbol followed by objc. An attribute provides additional information about a declaration. In this case, @Objective-C tells the compiler to make your code compatible with Objective-C. Don't worry too much about what that means now. All you need to know is that the @Objective-C attribute tells Swift the method is optional. Let's move on to a demonstration of the syntax. To have optional protocol requirements, you must prefix the protocol definition with the @Objective-C attribute. Each optional protocol requirement must be prefixed with the @Objective-C attribute and an optional modifier. Since the @Objective-C attribute tells the compiler to make your code compatible with Objective-C and Swift code, optional protocols only work with classes and not with structs. This is because Objective-C doesn't have the concept of a structure. Moving on, let's explore how to implement a required or optional protocol method. Before you can use the @Objective-C attribute, you need to import the Foundation module to the Playground page. This is because the Swift Playground doesn't include the attribute by default. To import the Foundation module, insert the keyword import followed by Foundation. Next, let's define a protocol called Reservation Data Source. To make the protocol requirements optional, mark the protocol definition with the @Objective-C attribute. Next, let's define two types of protocol requirements and make them optional. For the first requirement, I define a method called reserve with a table's parameter of type integer and an integer return type. This method will be used to determine the final number of successfully reserved tables. To make the protocol method requirement optional, I add an @Objective-C attribute followed by the optional modifier. Next, I'll demonstrate how to add an optional property protocol requirement. I add an @Objective-C attribute followed by the optional modifier and a max reservation tables variable. I set the property as type integer and declare it readable with the getter method declaration. Fantastic! I have defined an optional protocol with optional protocol methods and property requirements. Next, let's explore how to incorporate the optional protocol requirements in a class. In this example, I'll use Little Lemon's website to book a table. I first define a class called Reservation Website and adopt the Reservation Data Source protocol. At this point, I have not implemented any of the optional protocol requirements and the compiler does not issue a warning. This is unlike non-optional protocols that strictly accept implementation of all properties and methods. I can also choose to implement any or all of the optional protocol requirements. For the Reservation Website class, I'll implement the reserve optional protocol method the same way as a non-optional protocol method. Inside the method's body, I check if the table's argument value is less than 1 with an if statement. If it is, I indicate that it should return 0 since a table reservation of 0 or a negative number is invalid. Otherwise, return the number of tables using the table's argument value. This demonstrates the implementation of an optional protocol method with a class. Next, I'll demonstrate the implementation of an optional protocol property in a class. I define a class called reservation agent and make it adopt the reservation data source protocol. Again, there are no compiler warnings here because all the reservation data source protocol requirements are optional. Now, I have implemented the optional max reservation tables protocol property requirement by defining a constant called max reservation tables inside the reservation agent's definition. I set the constant to 2. This means that each reservation agent can reserve a maximum of 2 tables. There you have it. You've learned that defining protocol requirements as optional makes the implementation of those properties or methods optional. You've also learned that you could only declare optional protocols using the @Objective-C attribute. This allows Swift code to interpolate with Objective-C. Because Objective-C doesn't support structures, optional protocols only work with classes.